Welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show, presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Lovely, just lovely to have you along for the ride. So here's the way I fixed the NBA All-Star Game, and stay with me here, because this was a top topic of conversation all throughout yesterday. and I even saw ESPN reporting on it. And when ESPN reports a problem with their leagues, like fundamentally, not like, reporting the news of a player getting in trouble for whatever, but like a actual league itself, who they have the partnership for. When they report the problem, there's a little bit of a problem. So when there's a 211 points scored by one All-Star team, that needs some fixing. And when you watch an NBA All-Star game, usually what would happen is in the last, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, whatever, things would really start to, get serious over the last, 10, 15 years. Usually the whole game was pretty serious, with the exception of maybe one highlight dunk in the first quarter, that type of thing. And then everyone else was kind of, Karl Malone, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird. Those guys would get serious for a longer period of time, and it was actually competitive. And those guys actually took pride in the fact that they were on the court at the same time with the best players in the league, and they would show how much better they were than the best players in the league. There was a seriousness to it. And I did like that. I did enjoy that. But now, you might get hurt. Everyone's terrified of getting injured. And I understand why that'd be a threat. But I'm going to go ahead. If you want to fix this, if you want to fix the All-Star Game for the NBA, let's not do what others have done in the past, which is come up with some kind of weird formula for how they're winning, like the first quarter points, and then added to the third quarter points, and the third quarter points, and then added to the second quarter points, and then the way that they've done it in the past, where each quarter is almost like their own individual game. I like the charity aspect for it, where if your team won whatever quarter, money got donated to whatever charity. That's nice and that's good, but that didn't solve anything, unfortunately, for making the game competitive. And the NBA donates a lot of money. Players donate a lot of money anyway. So here's my fix, okay? And it's certainly not the Bud Selig route of, hey, let's make this game dictate home field advantage in the championship game. You know what I mean? No, let's not do that, what he did in baseball. I'm going to solve this problem. Ready? What's the word? I don't like cursing, so I'm going to say two jerks. That's what you do. You get two jerks, one on each team. Now, these guys, they could be, non-All-Stars. In other words, they wouldn't be voted into the All-Star game because they're good. They're voted into the All-Star game for how they play. And you basically say, hey, this is your opportunity to go piss off Luka Doncic. They go piss off, I don't know, anybody, really. Go light a fire in this game. I think in hockey you would call him a rat man, maybe. Just send one of those guys in. Maybe it's two guys from the G League, and you just throw them in. And you start having them picking the pockets of players, ripping rebounds, boxing out. I don't know. Maybe have them play. Now, stay with me. It's going to be very difficult to understand, very difficult formula here. You have them out there on the court to play hard. And maybe that gets the other guys motivated. Maybe they won't like getting embarrassed by a G League guy or a guy beneath their station in the league. Get guys out there that actually want to compete. That's how you solve it. Give me two guys. What's the comedian Joey Diaz? He always says, I'll take over the world with three MFers. I'll take over the world, three MFers. Just need three, and I'll take over the whole world. That's what you need, two guys in the NBA All-Star Game, and that's how you solve it. Welcome in once again to the show, everybody. Gregg Murphy's going to join us today. Love talking with Murph. Every couple months, maybe 2 or 3 times a year, we are able to record new episodes of the show, Greatest Sports Legends Then and Now. Check your local listings. It is a nationally syndicated show. I was lucky enough to be brought on board maybe 3 years ago, and we've shot a whole slew of episodes. And you can catch it on NBC Sports Philadelphia. You can catch it on NBC Sports Philadelphia Plus. It's a lot of fun to do this show. It's me, it's Gregg Murphy, it's Wes Hall. They're the two hosts. I kind of play like a role of a producer on the show, And I'm on camera for some stuff as well, which is fun. And it's just a blast because you get to talk about things that were before your time in the world of sports. And in this day and age, that was before my time, is getting to be such more of an excuse, so much more of an excuse. Oh, it was before my time. Yeah, really? Because, the internet, and if you're really curious, you can look it up. If you're a huge fan, if you're a history buff of sports, you can look just about everything up. You can go on the old YouTube and look things up. And this show, Greatest Sports Legends Then and Now, we put a lot of the stuff together and compare it to, the greatest sports legends of back in the day to the greatest sports legends of right now. Joel Embiid gets talked about in it. LeBron James gets talked about in this. So I've been hanging out with Murph this week and Wes Hall and all the guys over at Raphael Productions. It's been a great time. So Murph and I have talked baseball. He was down there for pitchers and catchers, came back to film some episodes here, and he's going to be going back down. I think he's going back down Thursday, back to Clearwater, Florida. But we got to talk in baseball. I said, Murph, I got to get you back on the show. He's like, yeah, I'd be happy to do. So we got him on the show today, and we talked some baseball. And, man, what a happy accident, because Dave Dombrowski spoke yesterday. Rob Thompson spoke yesterday, and Whit Merrifield spoke yesterday. I was very much impressed with all of them. And Whit Merrifield is going to fit in extremely well here in Philadelphia. We know on the field, you should know by now that on the field, this is a great acquisition for the Phillies in terms of this is a perfect guy that they need to come in who can spell you some spots there in left field. Obviously be a designated hitter for you if you need him. He can play second base. He can play anywhere on the diamond, as they've talked about. And Dave Dombrowski flat out said yesterday he can play everywhere, but catcher and pitcher. So that's exactly where you want him to be. And he also talked about a conversation about playing time. Because I'm sure if you're with Merrifield, you're 35 years old. Yeah, you're coming off still a good season. You've been in the league for a while. At one point, you had the active consecutive game streak. It was still like 2,000 games short of Cal Ripken Jr., but whatever. But you like playing the game and you want to continue to play the game and you think you can play the game at a high level, and he can still play the game at a high level. But I'm sure he looked around, saw what the market was, saw the deals that were out there and said, you know what? It's going to come down to, sure, a little bit of money, maybe the years, but definitely where I want to play, where I'm going to feel like I have a chance to win. Phillies, and Dave Dombrowski did a great job, and I'll let you hear from himself, but did a great job of talking about how great it is to have the Phillies and this atmosphere at Citizens Bank Park. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a wonderful thing. And it does attract players. You, the fans of Philadelphia, attract the Phillies, attract players to Philadelphia because people, they want to play in front of that type of atmosphere. So Whit Merrifield is addressing the media yesterday, and this is what he had to say about where he's at in his career.
I've been a 3-time All-Star. I've led the league in hits a couple times. I've led the league in stolen bases. I've led the league in all these different things that I feel like I've proven that I'm here and I can play. I was an All-Star last year. I've done that. I want to win now. And so I'm here to do whatever I need to do to win and to help this team win, whether it's sit on the bench and be a cheerleader for 162 games. I don't think that's why they brought me here, but if that's what they want me to do, I just want to win.
If you didn't listen to that and go, this guy fits our city rather well, I don't know what to tell you. That's exactly the attitude you want in this player. I'm just here to win. I've done some things in my career I can be extremely proud of. I've made not one, not two, but 3 All-Star teams. I've led the league in hitting. I want to win. If I need to be a cheerleader, I will sit in the dugout and be a cheerleader. If I need to be in the clubhouse and be the good chemistry guy, the good clubhouse guy, I'll be the good clubhouse guy. That's exactly who you want on this team. Because let's face it, look, Dave Dombrowski even said 12 of the 13 spots are already taken up. He even talked about Johan Rojas yesterday like it was a question as to whether or not he's going to make the team. Hey, Johan, thanks for bulking up. Thanks for downing all that protein and all that stuff. You're going to be in AAA to start out the season. I don't see that happening. Gregg Murphy has a good answer for that too, by the way, as to making Johan Rojas just a little bit uneasy in spring training, just to keep him hungry, kind of thing. But you got to love that attitude. You should know what he brings to the table as far as the player that he is, but as far as the attitude that he has, that's exactly what you want. Now, Dave Dombrowski, when he was addressing the media yesterday, said the most important thing about Whit Merrifield coming to Philadelphia was to have the conversation. And they had talked to Whit Merrifield a couple of different times throughout the offseason, and even going back over the last couple of trade deadlines where, again, it always seemed like his name was brought up. Well, what about Whit Merrifield? That type of thing. What about the Phillies getting Whit Merrifield? What about every team in the league wants to look at Whit Merrifield? If you feel like you have a chance to win, Whit Merrifield was a guy that might fit your club. So Dave Dombrowski talked about how they had kept a close eye on the situation with him. They had more or less made him an offer a while back. And his camp was, okay, let's look around and see what else was available. Turns out nothing else was available that was at least nearly as attractive as what the Phillies were offering, whether it was the 1 year for $8 million or it was the atmosphere here in Philadelphia and the chance to win. But either way, any player wants to understand the role. You want to set the expectations. Just like anybody going into a new job, you want to set the expectations for that person. What are you expecting of me and what can I expect of you? What are you going to give me as an employee so I can go out there and showcase my talents and also do the thing I love to do, which is actually play baseball? I'm sure he doesn't love to be a cheerleader. I'm sure he doesn't love sitting out of games. I'm sure he wants to play. So this is what Dave Dombrowski said about making sure they manage the expectations of Whit Merrifield as far as his role would be with the Phillies, and also the conversation that he had with Rob Thompson about managing playing time.
Important before we signed him that I thought, and right when we started the conversations, I wanted to make sure that he and Rob Thompson spoke. So they spoke on the phone, first of all, to make sure that he would describe the role, which would be not an everyday role with the ball club anticipated at this time. Like your abilities a great deal. Sure, you'll get in there. But it will be 2-3 days a week, 3-4 days a week. Don't really know that. But we want to make sure that you understand what the role would be. And Whit told Rob Thompson that he would be happy to accept the role. He understood what the playing time was, but which was great. And Rob Thompson told me afterwards, Topper said, I loved his response. He says, but I'm going to play well enough to show you that I'll get more at-bats.
How do you not love that attitude? Yeah, sure. Yeah, set the bar for me at 2 to 3 games, 3 to 4 games. Set the bar for me right there. I'm going to show you that I can earn more at-bats. I'm going to show you just how good I can be at the plate to help this team win. And I'm going to double dog dare you to take me out of this lineup if I'm hitting well. I'm here to win. I'm not here for more accolades. I got those. I'm here to win, do whatever it takes to help this team win. Oh, and by the way, with the opportunity you're going to give me, I'm going to show you how much I can help this team win. Not just, hey, Bryson, great job. Hey, Trey, go get him. Bryce, hair's looking fantastic today. No. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to hit the baseball. Fits in every single way on this team. That's the idea. See, those are the things, when you watch these guys from afar, you're just watching them play baseball every once in a while. You're looking up their stats, trade deadline, how are they doing, how are they hitting? Excuse me. That's the stuff you want, you look at. But you don't really get a sense of their attitude. You don't really get a sense of their personality until they put on a Phillies uniform and you really get to, listen to this long interview. I might go back and I might listen to a couple things that they did, like, for instance, Whit Merrifield when he was with the Blue Jays. I go back just to get a sense, okay, well, who are they bringing in here? What type of guy is he? This guy kind of rubs me the wrong way. I don't really know if his attitude fits here in Philadelphia. I don't know if his attitude really meshes well with the chemistry in the Phillies clubhouse. Seems like it meshes pretty well. A couple other things from Dave Dombrowski yesterday. I do laugh every time I hear a general manager or a president of team operations talk about how, we like our team. I like our team. It's like, all right, well, your job's done, I guess, until the trade deadline. See you later, It always makes me think of Paul Holmgren when he was general manager of the Flyers. It was like, I like our team. And then Jeff Carter and Mike Richards were traded like the next day. Dave Dombrowski saying he likes our team. I like our team. I like our team. To me, okay, good. I like our team too. I like the Phillies too. I think they have a very good lineup. I think they have a good pitching staff. I think the bullpen, could always use a couple of more pieces. But as of right now, I like this ball club. This ball club is going to have a chance to win a World Series. This ball club is going to be in the playoffs. But he's not done. There's still some pretty damn good names out there. The one thing I didn't like about Whit Merrifield, I thought if the Phillies signed him, then they're not going to go out and get like a Cody Bellinger. Now they could still go out there and get, and they could get Cody Bellinger. Probably not, but Jordan Montgomery is still a possibility. Blake Snell is still a possibility. They could still add arms, even though Dave Dombrowski also said yesterday that they like their rotation. That's good that you like it now. I think you'd like it even more if Jordan Zimmerman was a part of it. Jordan Montgomery, was a part of it. Blake Snell, a part of it. So I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that they are still adding. You can like your team. How about love? Do you love your team? That's what I'll go for. He also didn't say mum was the word on Zach Wheeler, as one would expect. No real update there. And as most general managers or player directors of player personnel, they're going to keep that close to the vest. They're going to keep that in house. But they really like Zach Wheeler, so that's nice that they like Zach Wheeler. And one more, I believe it's Simon Muzzatti. Good minor league outfield prospect that the Phillies have in the organization. He got a shout out from Dave Dombrowski yesterday, as did Andrew Bellotti. Those two guys clearing waivers. Nice to see that, especially Muzziotti. Love that he got a shout out. I was following his career last year with the Iron Pigs. Love to see that. Hit 322, I think, at least into August, maybe. Not too bad. So that was good to see those guys get shout outs. Now, as far as the Phillies becoming one of those destination teams, this was the question posed to Dave Dombrowski, and just kind of the atmosphere in the clubhouse that he's created, the atmosphere in the stands that the team helps the fans create by actually having some semblance of success, and all that. Dave Dombrowski talked about what type of atmosphere is there at Citizens Bank Park that attracts players to Philadelphia.
Looking for homes?
Well, I think it's an organization right now that players would like to play here in a lot of circumstances. Not always, because sometimes you'll run into someone who has a particular reason for joining another organization, close to home, opportunity, whatever it may be. But I think really what's happened here is we have a good organization. We have a really good club. I mean, when we're here starting the season, our goal is to win a world championship. That is our goal. I don't know if we'll do it or not, but we have a chance to do it. We have one of those clubs that people can talk about, and if things go well, you have a chance to do that. We have the opportunity to do that with a good organization that I think is well respected in the industry, with the players that are on the club. Our guys play hard. There's a good chemistry with the club. There's good leadership. There's young players that have broken in that are really good players. We have a manager and coaching staff that intertwines with the players well. We have ownership that treats our players tremendously well and believes in treating them that way and their families. We have an environment that's second to none when you come to Philadelphia at the ballpark. I mean, last year I was sitting there during the playoffs and been fortunate enough to be in a few times, but I said, if you don't like this, this is what it's all about. Now, of course, I would have liked to have won, right? But the whole thing, but it's fun. I mean, you're drawing a lot of people. Fans are excited. I go out and around town here, or I'm going buying home plate. People are talking about, geez, look at, great. This is great. This is fun. And
there is a buzz, and I love that buzz. And that Phillies playoff buzz is like no other. And I'll say why it's the best. And I think there's two sports that elevate more than anything in terms of the joy you can watch generally. You don't even have to watch your team play, but just generally watching the sport in the postseason. Baseball, I think, is the absolute best. Hockey is an extremely close second. The reason I take baseball over hockey is because as a fan, you get to be a part of the action. You're in every shot. That's what's amazing to me. The pitcher's looking at the catcher and the batter's in the box. You got the home plate crowd right behind home plate there. And you can see their reactions. You're in everything. And I love that because it makes you feel like you're there, you're a part of it, more than anything. Now, playoff hockey is incredible as well, but and I know the other sports are fine, but whatever. I think those are the two sports that elevate the most when you're talking about postseason play. When I watch or hear Citizens Bank Park coming through the TV in the playoffs, you're there, you're a part of it. You can feel it's palpable. It's a beautiful thing. And what the Phillies do in the postseason and what those Phillies fans do in the postseason is contagious. And any player watching from afar, Whit Merrifield talked about this yesterday. You want to be a part of Citizens Bank Park when that buzz is going on. You want to play playoff games in front of that crowd. You want that electricity. You want to be part of the reason Bryce Harper is getting so damn excited about rounding the bases in a postseason home run. You want to be part of that. That is contagious. That's something that everybody wants. That's if you're a guy like Whit Merrifield, you want that. I don't think he was getting that buzz as much in Toronto, for instance. Maybe a little bit in Kansas City, but mostly here in Philadelphia, that's where a lot of players, they want to bottle that up. And if other cities could bottle that up and package it and put that as part of their sales pitch to any free agent, they would do it. But it's a unique thing. And Philly's not the only city that gets into playoff baseball, but the way they do it, it just kind of, as the kids would say, hits different. Maybe the kid said that 3 years ago. I don't know, but you know what I'm saying. It hits different. So really loved a lot of things that I heard yesterday. And look, I appreciate the idea that Dave Dombrowski is not one of these guys like, we're the best team out there. Blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, that's fun, and it gets clicks and it gets headlines, but he's a real dude. And I appreciate that. I appreciate the real dude aspect. And look, the proof's in the pudding when it comes to Dave Dombrowski's success in Major League Baseball. He's won the World Series with 2 different teams. He's taken, 4 different teams to the World Series in the Tigers, the Phillies, the Marlins, and the Red Sox. Like, that's pretty good. The proof's kind of in the pudding with a guy that's had that kind of track record of putting winning teams together and actually winning the World Series a couple of times. That's a pretty nice thing to have in your resume. I'd like for the Phillies to add to that for him. But to me, I just really enjoyed the things he did say yesterday. I thought he spoke in a very real fashion. I don't get the sense I'm listening to a used car salesman when I listen to Dave Dombrowski. I get the sense that I'm talking to a very experienced guidance counselor who's seen it all before. Like, that's kind of the mentality, the nice neighbor. And I like that. A couple other things. The Johan Rojas mentioned from him yesterday. One spot guys are still fighting over when it comes to this organization. The overall mindset and attitude of everybody on the club, things are in a good spot as far as Dave Dombrowski is concerned. And now they do the dreaded thing. In this moment in spring training, when you have most of the guys signed that you really want, this part of spring training, what do? You just sit back and you wait. You wait for other players to get back to you about possible contracts, and you just keep your fingers crossed that nothing bad happens in spring training. That's where you're at right now as far as this Phillies squad goes. Ladies and gentlemen, I didn't want to get into this because I don't like rewarding stupidity with attention. And I talked about this many times whenever clickbait stuff comes up. I have a little bit of a problem here, though, with that Chris Sims fella. All right. Chris Sims, yes, has downed Jalen Hurts in the past. And we're aware of that. And when that's happened, whether he's ranked him out of the top 40 in his list, whatever, whether he's ranked him out of the top 5 coming out of last year, here's 2 things to say. One is it's the off season, and in case of emergency, annoy Philadelphia. It's a good formula for any analyst across the league, across the NFL, to follow. In case of emergency, just needle Philadelphia because we care. No one likes us. We don't care. Never believed that. I never believed that. Maybe in the heat of battle on game day, yeah, whatever, we'll show you that type of thing, that type of attitude. But everything else, we care. That's what makes us such a special fan base. That's what makes Phillies fans so damn fun during the postseason. That's why players want to play here, because people care and they want to be a part of the winning atmosphere. They want to help will you to a win. Kick you in the ass, standing ovation, whatever the case may be. We want to be a part of the reason you win. Across the league, they know that if it's a downtime, poke Philadelphia. No, what better way to start the postseason if you're an analyst than annoy Philadelphia? Clickety, click, click, clickety, click. Here's what's going to happen. We get annoyed. We talk about it. We think that that's an idiotic claim to say, he's like the most overrated quarterback in the league. Really? Really? First off, the term overrated for a guy that's only been in the NFL as a starter for 3 years, how do you overrate that? How is that overrated? When one of the years he was a MVP runner-up to Patrick freaking Mahomes, okay, and he went to the Super Bowl. How do you overrate? This reminds me of just using the term overrated. Well, how do you rate him? We know how Chris Sims rates him, but how do you overrate that? That to me makes zero sense. Overrate. You don't even know what he is yet. And now he's just coming off a season where his play caller had never called plays in the NFL before. Look, there's some valid points to the idea of a quarterback coming in with assets like A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, DeAndre Swift, the offensive line that he has, and not having another great year. In fact, regressing. And we can all acknowledge that, yes, he absolutely regressed this past season. Let's acknowledge that. But to say all of a sudden he's overrated, that's just waiting to spike the football if you're Chris Sims. Now, again, I do believe a lot of this is, partially how he feels, but also it's the offseason. This is a very easy formula. Chris Sims pokes Philadelphia, gets all of Philadelphia's attention. Philadelphia then responds, and other people then from around the country want to see how Philadelphia responds and see how this goes back and forth. That's pretty much how it goes. We go, Chris Sims goes, your guy sucks. We go, you're an idiot. Then fans across the league watch how we are upset or bitch and moan about somebody. Hey, that's our player. How do you make fun of our player? Or how do you criticize our player? How do you undervalue or underrate our player? Very simple process. That's how they get the clicks. It's how they get the views. Philadelphia is the kid at the lunch table that doesn't like being annoyed and will let you know it. Once that guy stands up and he's tired of being annoyed, then everyone starts looking. We are that, as a Philadelphia fan base, that's what we are. No one likes us, we don't care. That's a lie. It sounds good, but we do care. Oh, we care big time. Chris Sims is a perfect example of why we care. I hate to throw, look, if I'm rating Jalen Hurts, I still think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. You can have a down year. You can have a bad year. It happens. And you can bounce back from it. I think he's going to be a guy that bounces back from it. And I think really trying to correct the mistake of having an inexperienced play caller around him will benefit him greatly. It won't do everything. Jalen Hurts has to be better by himself. He has to learn how to play situational football. Before it became extremely trendy to look at Nick Sirianni and say, what is it that he does here? One of the things I was pointing out throughout the season about a concern I had with Nick Sirianni was that things he would say in his press conferences about what they do to correct mistakes, you wouldn't see them correct mistakes. We had Olivia Reiner on the show a couple of weeks ago where she just asked the question point blank, Nick, you say that these are easy corrections to make, but why aren't they being corrected? And this was in week 14, 15. And Nick's like, I got nothing for you. I can't. Same thing with Brian Johnson. I can't answer that without throwing somebody else on the team under the bus. And one of the things Nick Sirianni talked about was situational football. You would hear him talk about situational football, yet Jalen Hurts is bombing the ball down the field with a fourth quarter lead. That's not situational football. That's bad football. That's not smart. And then Nick Sirianni would defend it after the game. Like, I can't fault my quarterback for wanting to put up points. How about every quarterback in the NFL? I don't care if you're Aaron Rodgers. I don't care if you're Brock Purdy. I don't care if you're Jalen Hurts. I don't care if you're Nate Sudfeld getting some, spot time, at the end of a game. You manage the game. You turn into a game manager in the fourth quarter if you have a lead. You play safe. Not necessarily conservative, but safe. Throwing the ball down the field in the 1st and 10 in that Seattle game with 8:15 left in the fourth quarter. Not safe. Stupid. If that's the play call and that's your read, nope, that's not the play. Go ahead and scramble, see if somebody gets open. And if not, go get yourself 2 yards. That's situational football. Or, I know everyone talks about Kenny Gainwell being open in the flat on the last interception of the game, the last throw by Jalen Hurts in that Seattle game, but also on that deep ball to Quez Watkins, he had Kenny Gainwell at the line of scrimmage. Little dump, boop, little dump off right there. Those are things that Jalen Hurts needs to get better on as his career goes on, as this season, inches closer and closer, and it can't come fast enough in a lot of instances, because I do want to make sure Jalen Hurts puts the haters, the doubters, the underrated people, the people that make him an underrated quarterback, I hope, shuts them up as soon as possible with a bounce back year and a year where the Eagles are able to get back to a Super Bowl. A lot of holes to fix, as we know. A lot of holes to fix, but let's cross our fingers that that's actually what goes down. Before we go any further, let's hear from Gregg Murphy himself. Let me tell you about MyBookie, mybookie.ag. NBA is back in action in 2 days. Hockey well underway again. We're going to hope that the Flyers get back on the winning side of things, but you can bet on the NHL, you can bet on the NBA, you can bet on just about everything there at MyBookie, mybookie.ag. And when you sign up at MyBookie and create an account, make sure you use promo code FARZI for up to $1,000 redeemable cash bonus at MyBookie, mybookie.ag. And also, if you don't want to bet on the world of sports, if that ain't your thing, if you don't have a good read on what's going on, how about betting in the world of television? That's right. You could bet on your favorite TV shows. You could also bet in the world of politics as well. So do that at MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Take advantage of all they're offering. Let the games begin at MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Use promo code FARZI for up to $1,000 redeemable cash bonus at MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Without further ado, let's flip it back to baseball and talk about our beloved Philadelphia Phillies with the great Gregg Murphy of the Phillies Radio Network. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been saying this for the last week or so here, that we got all new shoots of Greatest Sports Legends then and now. We're taping them right now, this week. And, of course, the host, along with Wes Hall of that program, Gregg Murphy, also right there of the Phillies Radio Network as well. Murph, how you doing, my friend?
Farzi, I'm doing great.
Fantastic. Now, I have to ask you, you'd already been down to spring training. When it comes to your first impressions of everyone down there, from who you were able to see in the brief time, anybody jump out to you?
I know it's so early at that point. When I was down there, it was pitchers and catchers. I know some of the position players are starting to get there over these next couple of days. But, Aaron Nola, it was great to see him. It was great to watch him throw a little bit. Zach Wheeler was throwing when I was down there as well. JT Realmuto looks like he's in absolutely unbelievable shape, as he generally is. So Johan Rojas, also a guy that seemed to bulk up a little bit. But early on in camp, they're just kind of going through, some of those drills that we see, where they're lifting their leg and putting it back down. They take it a couple swings, but they'll start to get into the swing of things coming up this week. And that's when it'll start to get interesting.
I always say to myself, I'm so excited to watch calisthenics. And I'm like, no,
yeah.
It's just that's all it is. You mentioned Johan Rojas. One of the things that you mentioned bulked up, and that's been a story. But Dave Dombrowski, I was surprised when he addressed the media on Monday. He had talked about how there's an interesting thing here. If Johan Rojas makes the club, I mean, Brandon Marsh is out. I know you brought in with Merrifield and all that, but I thought Johan Rojas was almost a shoo-in to make the opening day lineup.
Well, I think he probably is almost a shoo-in, right? But, Dave Dombrowski is not giving away jobs. He's not in the business of doing that. And they have brought in a couple of veteran guys that could fill that role if Johan Rojas doesn't play well in the spring. Look, they want him to go out and they want him to earn it. They don't want him to think that he can sit back and just the job's going to be handed to him. And I think that's the right way to play it. It's a little bit of motivation. But Johan Rojas knows that he needs to go out there, take care of business, do what he does well, which is go catch the baseball. And then he needs to be better at the plate than he was at the end of last season. If he's able to kind of just improve a little bit at the plate, then I think you have yourself a pretty special player as a young player out there in center field. I'd be very surprised if Rojas wasn't on the opening day roster, but, the next couple of weeks will kind of prove that out.
Yeah, they make the signing. First off, just what was your reaction when you saw what the Phillies brought in Whit Merrifield?
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, honestly, Whit Merrifield's a guy that I've always kind of sat back and admired the way he plays the game. And, he's with Kansas City for a long time, and he was a terrific offensive player when he was with the Royals. And then he goes over to the Blue Jays. He had an all-star season a year ago. He's the kind of guy that can play anywhere on the diamond. So you need that if you're the Philadelphia Phillies. And, right now, certainly saying all the right things. He's saying, I'll do whatever this team needs me to do because I just want to win. At this point in his career, he just wants to win. He sees an opportunity to do that here in Philadelphia. So here he is.
Yeah, I loved when he addressed the media yesterday, and he just said, look, I've done a lot, been a 3-time All-Star, led the league in hits and all that stuff. Yeah. And then he just talked about how, look, the next thing I want to do is win. And it certainly seems like Philadelphia is a place he can at least do that. What can you tell us about at least your take on the situation? 1-year deal. Dombrowski said that, Merrifield and his camp were kind of looking for a multi-year deal. What do you know about any of the goings on behind the scenes there where he eventually settled on Philadelphia for a 1-year deal?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really comes down to, he probably had some other opportunities elsewhere, but at the end of the day, he's at that point where he has said, look, a World Series is what I want at this point. And he just believes that of the teams that probably were in the mix for his services, that the Phils were their best opportunity to get to the World Series and maybe win one. So I love that about a player. And I think Whit Merrifield is going to be the kind of player that Phillies fans really enjoy. He's a great clubhouse guy from everyone you talk to. Certainly seems to be a good guy, but he's also like that dirtball kind of player, right? He's the kind of guy that is going to get into a game. He's going to do all the little things you need to do to help a team win. He's going to come out. His uniform is going to be a mess. And that's what we like here in Philly. That's why I think he's going to be a really good fit.
I agree with that. Now, you've covered a couple of regimes here in your time covering Philadelphia sports, especially covering the Phillies. Just to be around a guy like Dave Dombrowski, I want to get to the clubhouse, talk about that atmosphere. Just be around a guy like Dave Dombrowski, a baseball lifer, if you will. Like, what kind of impression does he give you?
You know what? Just complete confidence in his ability to do the job. I mean, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's taken 4 different teams to the World Series. The guy knows what he's doing. There's no doubt about it. And I think maybe one of the best things about Dave Dombrowski that maybe a lot of people don't know is he does it with a smile on his face all the time. He's one of those guys that if you're walking down the hall, he'll stop, he'll talk to you, he'll ask about your family, ask how things are going. He's a really likable person, but he is so smart. He is such a good baseball guy, and he understands what it takes to put together a winning team. Not just talent on the field, right? But also that mix in the clubhouse. And I think we've seen that over the last couple of years. He has a real, nose for talent, but he also has a nose for how people all come together. And we've seen that over the last couple of years. And you know what? Another World Series ring on Dave Dombrowski's finger would only solidify the resume. Not that he needs anything else. He is a Hall of Famer for sure. But yeah, I think the Phils are just really lucky to have him.
Listening to him talk earlier, he was just hitting every note sort of when it came to the idea of how he likes this team. 12 of the 13 positions are pretty much a lock. They like their rotation. They like their bullpen. When you talk about 12 or 13, what do you think is in question now? Because it seems like, most of this team, the vast majority of it, is pretty set.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's obviously that little question in center field, whether Johan can win that job. But, your infield is set. You know that. Your starting rotation is pretty much set. There's some depth maybe to be worked out during spring training. And maybe a bullpen spot or 2 up for grabs, or at least, a little bit of competition. But, we talked a lot, or folks have talked a lot about the quiet offseason for the Philadelphia Phillies. And it's true, they didn't go out and sign the big names like they've done in the past, except you can't forget they signed one of the best pitchers in all of baseball, and that's Aaron Nola. Sure, he's a guy that they already had, but look at the numbers. In the open market, Aaron was one of the best pitchers out there. They bring him back to a deal which he certainly deserves. And now we're going to try and roll it back with the guys that have gotten them there over the last 2 years. So this is a position you want to be in, right? The Phillies will make a move at the All-Star break or at the trade deadline if they need to. But this is where you want to be if you're a team, if you're the Philadelphia Phillies, a fan of the team. You want to be in a position where here we are in spring and we're already talking about the postseason. Now, not every team in baseball can do that, but the Phillies can.
Okay. Now, you mentioned, trade deadline. If they're in the right position, they'll make and the right deal becomes available, they will make that deal. Dave Dombrowski will make that deal. Sam Fulton make that deal also. But when, we're not that, that patient of a fan base. Everyone likes the Whit Merrifield signing and all that stuff. When it comes to the idea of a Cody Bellinger, even a Jordan Montgomery, do you think there's still a splash deal? Is it likely? Is there a little chance that it happens? What would you say about maybe one more splash deal, big name signing happening before they break camp?
Well, here's what I would say, Mark. Is it out of the question? No, I don't think so. Certainly when you have an owner like John Middleton who just wants to win, all he cares about is winning, is getting that trophy back, is getting another ring for the city of Philadelphia. So if the opportunity presents itself and a guy like Jordan Montgomery, as you mentioned, or even Blake Snell, guys that are still out there, hanging out there, the longer they're out there, the more reasonable it becomes that there might have to settle for a 1-year deal. And that's something that maybe the Phillies would be interested in doing. Something that maybe is a little bit shorter, where they don't have to guarantee a ton of money for a long period of time to get one of those superstars back. So do I think it's likely? No, I don't think it's likely at this point. But is it possible? Absolutely. It's possible. The longer this stretches out, the better it is for teams like the Phillies.
I always think it's funny. I always laugh, like literally laugh, whenever I hear a GM or a what do you call president of operations say, "Oh, I like our team." Like, okay, well then you're done. See you at the trade deadline. You're good to go. But yeah, I would say at this point, yeah, I agree. It's unlikely. Now, when it comes to the atmosphere, we hear so much about not just the Citizens Bank atmosphere and the fans, but we hear so much about the Phillies clubhouse atmosphere. And Nick Castellanos said, if you don't have good team chemistry, you're not winning anything. What is it? Can you put your finger on it, from talking to the guys over the years to being around it so much? What is it about that Phillies chemistry that is, it seems like it's brought in from Bryce Harper. It seems like it's obviously championed by Rob Thompson and Kyle Schwarber and those guys. What can you tell us to help us give an understanding about why that chemistry is so good?
Yeah, I think you touched on a little bit of all of it. I think it's all of those parts and more combined. So, I've been around the Phillies clubhouse now as a broadcaster since 2012. So a little more than a decade now. And we have had some really good clubhouses, including the one we have right now. And in my time, we've had a couple of really bad clubhouses, and you could just feel it in the air. And that's just the truth, and I'm not talking about wins and losses as much as it just felt fragmented. It just felt different. This clubhouse over the last couple of seasons has been absolutely outstanding. And I think it starts at the top, as we talked about, guys like Dave Dombrowski and Sam Fold bringing in the right kind of people, because I think you do need that. But then Rob Thompson, when they instilled Rob as the manager, everything kind of shifted a little bit more in terms of we can relax a little bit, be ourselves, have a little bit of fun, and go out there and take care of business. But at the end of the day, I think the most important thing about a good clubhouse and a clubhouse that has chemistry are the players. The 26 guys that are in there on a daily basis. And I'm not just saying this because I'll tell you, in 2013, 2014, I did not feel this way. This clubhouse is a good group of guys. They're good people. They're nice people, and they enjoy being around one another. They have fun with one another. They joke around. They're doing all those things that you would think and you would expect. And I think that's where it starts. The players are good, and they like being around each other. Certainly, winning helps, but you can still have a good chemistry, a team with good chemistry, and not win like the Phillies. The Phillies have both. They have really good players who are also really good people, and that all kind of works together, and it's worked for them over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and you're a class act. You don't hold a grudge to Carlos Santana for breaking your Xbox that year either. So allegedly. All right. But all right. So a couple more things for you. When it comes to Zach Wheeler, everyone wants to know whether or not a deal is going to get done now, if a deal is going to get done at all. What does your gut tell you about extending Zach Wheeler as a Philadelphia Philly?
All right, so my gut tells me it gets done. But I will tell you that if you asked me the exact same question about Aaron Nola at the exact same time last year, I would have told you the exact same thing, because I really believed that they were going to get Aaron's deal done before the season last year. And when they didn't, I was really afraid that we had seen the end of Aaron Nola in a Phillies uniform. Now, we know the story and how it worked out. Aaron wanted to be here. The team wanted him here. So ultimately, they figured it out at the end of the season. So fast forward to this year and Zach Wheeler, I think they get a deal done. Both sides want it to happen. And, Zach has established himself as one of the best pitchers in baseball. And by most people that you talk to believe that despite him being, 34 years old at this point or right around there, that, he keeps himself in such good shape that he still has a good number of good years ahead of him. So I think with all of that in mind, the market is pretty much set. And the Phillies probably know about what they have to do to keep Zach Wheeler. Everybody has come out publicly and say they want it to happen. So, yeah, I think it happens. I think it has to happen in spring, or it won't happen until the end of the season, if it does at all. So the next couple of weeks obviously are critical for it to happen with Zach Wheeler, because if it doesn't, I think Zach at that point, his camp will shut it down, and they'll have to wait until October to get something done. So let's keep our fingers crossed, because, Zach's one of those guys I'm talking about. Just a great guy. In addition to being a terrific pitcher, he's the kind of guy you want in your clubhouse. He's the kind of guy you want to take the baseball every 5 days. So hopefully it gets done.
All right. Where do you sit on the Kyle Schwarber as a leadoff hitter? Kyle Schwarber is not a leadoff hitter because it just looks like the proof's in the pudding. Bottom line is he leads off. He's batting number one. They win games. It goes against everything I'm supposed to see or love about baseball, but they just win. So can you make sense of it? And is it something that you agree with?
Yeah, it's a question we've talked so much about over the last couple of years. You said it. When Kyle Schwarber is in the leadoff spot, they win games. So,
how does that happen?
What else do you want, right? but here's what I think, and again, I've talked about this a lot with a lot of different people. I grew up watching the game of baseball. I'm in my 50s, so I've been watching baseball for a long time, and always that leadoff spot. Yeah, I know, believe it or not, good moisturizer. I've been in that leadoff spot has always been an on-base guy, a speedy guy, and that's the way we were brought up. But Rob Thompson said something, I think, last season, just kind of almost in passing. He said, maybe we just have to look at that leadoff position differently nowadays. Maybe it just isn't that guy anymore, and it can be Kyle Schwarber, and we can stick him up there. And despite the strikeouts and despite the low batting average, you can get a guy like Kyle Schwarber, put him in the leadoff spot, and win games. And that's what the Phillies have done. So maybe we need to shift our focus a little bit. Yeah, if you ask me who should lead off on this team, I mean, I guess I would say Trey Turner. I would probably, put Bryson Stott in the mix. He's an on-base kind of guy. But I'm fine with Kyle Schwarber leading off if they're going to go out and win 90-plus games. And that's what they've been doing.
Right, just 91, 92. No need to show off and win like 103 because all that matters is what happens in the playoffs. You know what I mean?
I'll take that too.
Oh, yeah, twist my arm. Ladies and gentlemen, you know him, you love him. His name is Gregg Murphy, Phillies Radio Network. Also, make sure you catch him on Greatest Sports Legends. You might see me pop up on the screen once in a while, along with Wes Hall, who works down there in Monumental Sports in D.C. He does a phenomenal job as well. But check our local listings for that. Murph, always great catching up with you, brother. Thank you so much.
All right, Farsi, good to talk to you.
The great Gregg Murphy. Always just a joy to talk to. Just such a good dude. Bottom line, good dude. And I'll see Murph in about 2 hours on set. This run of episodes for Greatest Sports Legends is focusing on the Olympians. The Olympians, being that it's an Olympic year. A lot of interesting stuff. Yes, the 1992 U.S. Olympic men's basketball team, the Dream Team, is also covered, as one would assume. We also talk about Doug Collins' 1974 Olympics. The travesty that was I shouldn't say travesty. It's fixed. It was rigged. They were screwed. Simple as that. So, we talk about all that and more. I'll tell you right now, though, what I want to talk about, and that's the Game Time app, ladies and gentlemen. Download the Game Time app to your phone. Use promo code FARZI at the Game Time app, and let the fun begin. When you download the Game Time app, you can go to any game at the guaranteed lowest price. The game, the event, the concert, the comedy show, whatever the case may be, download the Game Time app. Use promo code FARZI, and we'll get you $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. So download the Game Time app to your phone if you want to go to the next Sixers game, the next Flyers game, whatever the case may be. The Game Time app has got you covered. And the Game Time guarantee is, yes, the guaranteed lowest price. So if you find tickets in the same section and same row for less money on another app, the Game Time app will match it 110% of the difference. How about that? Game Time guarantee. That's what it is. Also, the Game Time app, they also get you, how about this? Flash ticket deals for great savings. Also, last-minute ticket deals and ticket deals for an hour after the event starts. So you know you're always getting the best possible price. So you might miss the opening act, the middle act, whatever the case may be. You're still seeing your headliner, and that's what they do at the Game Time app. So download the Game Time app to your phone, create an account, use promo code FARZI, and you get $20 off your first purchase of the Game Time app. Let's jump into the chat check and see how you guys are doing on this fine morning. Good morning, Good morning, April. April, how are you? Pat Bev would be a great instigator for the All-Star game. See, but here's Pat Bev would be that dude. I love that. Yeah, Pat Bev. Maybe PJ Tucker works out his frustrations with the Clippers. Maybe he works that out in the All-Star game. And this is what they should do. This is just in fixing the All-Star game for the NBA. This is what they should do. They should have the All-Stars come out, and then like everyone's going to know the deal. All right, this isn't going to be like a surprise thing, where somebody comes out and is like, oh wait, he's late, But they just know that somebody who's the agitator, the instigator, the jerk. They have that guy, and it's like all the All-Stars are lined up, and there's like Giannis, there's Steph, there's LeBron, there's all these guys that are lined up. There's, and they're like, oh no, who's it going to be? And then like pyrotechnics go off, steam, they open up a curtain, and out walks Patrick Beverley. And he's like, what's up, bitches? And he's going to go in there and wreak havoc. That's what I think would be great. PJ Tucker could be another one. Grayson Allen. Have Grayson Allen out there. Just, these guys that just are here to, hey, we're going to be out here to mess stuff up. That's what we're going to do. I think that's how you solve the problem. And you just let those guys, what I like to say, be the proverbial quarter in the machine. They get things started. They start picking pockets. They start boxing out. They start blocking shots. They start giving a little arm check. That's how you solve the All-Star game, folks. Again, I'll go back to Joey Diaz. I'll take over the world with 3 MFers. Sean Gillespie, what's going on? Good morning. Sean Kilrain, hello. Hey, speaking of Patrick Beverley, he threw Joel Embiid under the bus after saying what a great teammate. After saying that he went to visit him when he announced he was having a knee surgery. And look, if Joel Embiid is stat chasing, they were winning games with him. I don't care. If that's the best way to win with him, then hey, win. Again, the regular season is fraudulent anyway. Is everyone going to call him Whiz-Wit Merrifield Farzi? Great utility guy. Looking forward to seeing what he does. The Whiz-Wit thing just seems, I don't know, it seems too obvious of a nickname. I'll put it like this. He's got to do something for me to really feel like he's one of us. It's got nothing to do with this fact that he's good with a Philadelphia colloquialism of, you want to win onions? Yeah, what onions? That kind of thing. But Whiz-Wit, I like it. I don't hate it. But I just kind of feel like in the moment. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. Kate Scott for the Sixers there. She had the bang, bang, George Niang. Like, that just has to come to you in the moment. Those are the best catchphrases or whatever, the best nicknames. They come to you in the moment. It's not like a forced nickname. The Whiz-Wit almost seems too easy. I have to be in the throes of passion during the season. Maybe he has a hot spring training. I don't know. But I don't know. I gotta feel it out a little bit different. I gotta feel it out. I'm gonna put that on hold, the Whiz-Wit. Badass attitude by Merrifield, says Sugarnaut. What's going on? Yeah, it is a badass attitude. Is that not the attitude you want in all your players? You want to be a cheerleader? Be a cheerleader. I'm here to win. That's what you want to hear. Mike Fujadamas. What's going on? Good morning, Mark. Good morning, folks. Happy Tuesday. Homer ruined the Flyers. Just saying. I like our team. That was a little too Bobby Clark. Sorry. Morning, everybody. James Alexander, good morning. Jordan Montgomery will be a Philly. Oh, Fujadamas. If we win 3 straight games, that could give us some momentum. Win 3 straight games, that gives us. Is that the Sixers, the Flyers? Oh, hey, see that? Listening to Dave Dombrowski has got me excited for Phillies baseball. There you go. I'm glad. It also falls on Rob Thompson, managing the team this year. No blunders like Kimbrel's situation. So look, ultimately, you're Sean, I couldn't agree more. Ultimately, yes, your players got to hit. But if your players aren't hitting, Rob, then you can't put in Craig Kimbrel to blow a game in the playoffs. And if you're going to start Christopher Sanchez, you can't pull him at the first sign of panic. Let him get himself out of a jam. So you don't have to, because the minute he pulled out Christopher Sanchez in game 5? The minute he pulled Christopher Sanchez, it was like, this is setting up for Kimbrel to blow it in the 8th, right? Yep. Buddy Christ, good morning, Buddy Christ. Nice to see you. Always remember Chrissy Karma is a bitch. Only if you are. Oh, wait. Wait, are we saying Chrissy is as wait, what is going on here? And which is you are. You agree, Farzi? Wait, what's happening? Always remember Chrissy Karma a bitch. What is happening? I'm sorry, Sean. I botched that. Sims is a gaslighting jackass. Thank you, Fujadamas. Sean Gillespie, Skip Bayless has been using that troll formula successfully for years. Philadelphia is a great city to troll. During the season, the fan base that people that they love to exploit nationally is the Cowboys fan base, and those that hate the Cowboys because they are such a lightning rod of a team. You either love them or you hate them. And if you love them, you want to see them win, so they're going to be on primetime. If you hate them, you want to see them lose, so they're going to be on primetime. That's how that works. In the offseason, not much is going on. Let's annoy the hell out of Philadelphia because they know they'll give us a lot of content. Sean Cummings, Sims is just mad. Hurts has always been better than him. I bet his dad, Phil, would say the same damn thing. Buddy Christ, would Jalen perform as well with below-average weapons? Carson and Donovan. That's interesting. The ones that Carson and Donovan had. That's an interesting thing. That's always a good test. You know, I thought more about when I was talking last week about the difference between the best I've ever seen and the greatest I've ever seen. Like Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback I've ever seen. The best quarterback I've ever seen is Patrick Mahomes. Greatness, when I use the word greatness, when you're describing the greatest, there are no ifs. The guys that have been the best, like Dan Marino might be the best quarterback people have ever seen, but not the greatest because he never won. So the best, if the best had this, then he'd be the greatest. You know, that kind of thing. But the greatest is just the greatest. Forget about the other factors there. It's what is. And that's the greatest. And that's why Tom Brady is the greatest. Patrick Mahomes is the best. So to this point, if Donovan had A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, or if Donovan had Terrell Owens for 10 years, would they have won? Yeah. If Carson, had those same types of wide receivers, would he have won here? Would he have had a clear head and been thrown into a winner right away? April, what's going on? Sims has always been a schmuck. Great uses of schmuck. Sims has always been a schmuck. That's not gonna change. I concur. Buddy Christ, Jalen definitely regressed last season. You're just a homer if you say otherwise. And I agree. Let's hope he improves. He is still only 20. That is incredible. That is incredible. Is he 25 or 24? I thought I just saw him on a list that was like under 25. Maybe it was 25 and under. I think you're right. I just want to double check that I have that right. I think he is 25. Yeah, 25. Turns 26 in August. Did Jalen take the steps back for sure? Jalen did take a step back. This is okay. Good. This is why you guys are a smart audience, Jalen, because we're willing to acknowledge a fact. We're not homers here. We're here as a group here at the Farzi Show, using me to tell it like it is, not how we want it to be. We tell how we want it to be, but we tell it how it is. We tell it how it is, and then how we want it to be. Yes, this guy sucks, but we want him to be better. Farzi Show. That's the new tagline. I'm sorry, April, I missed it. Jalen did take steps back last year. Hopefully we can get back to where he was playing in the past. Yeah. Babs, what's going on, Babs? Farzi, I actually think that the coaching staff, Lori, Howie, everyone are afraid to criticize Hurts because it looks like he has rabbit ears and thin skin, which is not good for a quarterback. I'll say this. I don't think he has thin skin. I would, to your point, Babs, I would like to see the Eagles. I would like to see the Eagles test how much Jalen Hurts wants to be coached hard, because Jalen Hurts has said he wants to be coached hard. Nick Sirianni has acknowledged that Jalen likes to be coached hard. Well, guess what? This year is probably going to be a year where you're going to be coached pretty damn hard. But I don't think, here's the saving grace with Jalen Hurts, and this is why I would buy a shoot ton more stock in Jalen Hurts than I would Carson Wentz. I think Jalen Hurts has that. Jalen Hurts has that tough skin. He's got that thick skin. He can take a licking and keep on ticking. A guy like Carson Wentz, he turtled up. When there was adversity, that wasn't for him. Jalen Hurts is a guy that already started his career under the spotlight. Hey, and if you don't think so, and you're like, oh, he's a second-round pick. Yeah, that's not what I'm talking about. I mean, dude, there was already – spotlight might be the wrong word. He already started his career on a hot seat. I'll put it to you like that. Where, oh, yeah, you'll be the starter, but we might get Aaron Rodgers. Oh, yeah, you'll be the starter, but we might get Russell Wilson. And the whole time, he just kept his head down and kept moving along, kept moving forward. And I said, this guy, he's got it mentally. And I still believe he's got it mentally. Even after, some of the stuff that came out in the Joe Santoliquito article about Jalen Hurts. And we even had Joe on the show. And Joe was like, yeah, this is not the same story as Carson Wentz. The Carson Wentz story had you worried because it seemed like Carson was so thin-skinned. This story makes me go, oh, there's a couple of things that Jalen Hurts might be able to do to, make other guys in the locker room feel a little bit more welcome, like they're heard, like they're more part of the team, and he'll make that adjustment. That, to me, is what that story highlighted, and I believe in being done. When I was finished reading the story, my feeling after Carson Wentz was we're doomed. My feeling after reading the story with Jalen Hurts is, oh, this is fixable. This is good that we know, but it's fixable. And I don't think Jalen Hurts has an aura of him. He's better than anybody. I think he's just a laser-focused guy. And I think that can be misconstrued if you don't know. Sean Kilrain, I think he gets back to the style of playing that we saw in the Super Bowl. With new coaches, I think he will do just fine. He's an athlete, and he gets it. All right. Daz, love Whit Merrifield. Royals are dumb to let him go 2 years ago. Smash that like button. Yeah, smash that like button. Do jumping jacks on that like button. Patrick Beverly or Draymond Green would be great. Oh, my goodness. The other thought I had, April, in that regard was Kobe. And look, there's only one Kobe. But Kobe with the Redeem Team. And if you haven't seen that documentary on Netflix, that is awesome. Kobe, and it actually made its way around social media, so people have seen this. Kobe telling the team that he was going to set a hard screen on Pau Gasol. He said, look, first play of the game, I'm running right through Pau Gasol's chest. And everyone's like, dude, that's your teammate with the Lakers. That's your brother. That's a godfather to one of his daughters. You're not going to do that. And bang, Kobe laid him out. That sent a message. I'm like, where's someone to set a screen in the All-Star game to send a message? Sean Kilrain keeps running his mouth. Something is bound to happen. To Sims, yeah. Terry Bradshaw was best and greatest of his era. The way they used his skill. Here's the thought that I had. Oh, Babs. God bless you. Thank you, Babs. That's very kind. You're the best. You're very kind. Thank you. April, Kobe was a classic ish talker. Yeah, absolutely. Here's the thing, wine Niners wine. Here's the thing. It's interesting to say that, extremely. And here's why. So Terry Bradshaw, old school guy, 4 Super Bowls, called his own plays, great defense, as we know. But you go back to that era, and I talk about the word if. Okay, and one of the biggest things we do when we compare generations, this is why I hate comparing generations, even though I work on a show called Greatest Sports Legends Then and Now, comparing generations. But in all honesty, one thing you only really take into account of guys from the past is statistics and accomplishments. But then you throw in the word ifs, and the biggest if is, well, what if he played in this era? And a segment we do on the show, Greatest Sports Legends, is could they play today? And a lot of these instances, you just don't know. Like, you would like to take into account mindset, but it's hard to measure that against a player that you can't go back and interview from, like, olden times, for instance. Sometimes you can hear from the players themselves. We have footage of that from the original Greatest Sports Legends show. But it's just a difficult thing to try to compare the generations. But the biggest thing is if, and the biggest thing is also rules. The rules Terry Bradshaw played with, what would he have thrown for today if he couldn't be hit below the knee? The pass interference being called the way it's called today. The grace that defensive players literally can't tackle quarterbacks hard. Like, think about that. They can't land on top of them. They can't throw them into the ground. It's those rules. The rules today. I always say this. It is not easy to play quarterback in the NFL. but it has never been easier to play quarterback in the NFL than it is right now. So when you talk about guys and the way they play now and whether or not they're the best, whether or not they could play back in the day, whether or not they can play today, it's like, have we already seen the greatest generation of quarterbacks? Like even before Tom Brady, like pre-2000. What if any of those guys played with the even mid players? Would Jeff Hostetler have been a Pro Bowler by today's standards? Yes, he won a Super Bowl after Phil Simms got hurt. Would those types of quarterbacks be 1,000 times better in today's league because it's easier to play quarterback in the NFL? It's not easy, but it's never been easier. Those are the things I think about in my horrible, messed up Family Guy brain. I think the old NFL, no doubt, Jason. I think the old NFL was way more difficult, especially on offense and defense. Used to be feared, 1,000%. Why Niners whine? Exactly right. But they, to a certain extent, and I hate to use this word because it gets used so much, coddled. To a certain extent, they've been coddled. Most of today's quarterbacks wouldn't survive one game of the 70s. Game is completely different. Likewise, 70s quarterbacks would be ineffective today. Yeah, maybe they didn't have the arm. That's the thing. A lot of those guys didn't have the arm to survive in today's game either. That's another factor that goes into it. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are wonderful as per usual. Make sure you go ahead and smash that like button, everybody. Make sure you subscribe to Farzy Show on the Farzy Show YouTube channel, as well as the Jacob Media YouTube channel as well. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, everybody. I got to get on over to the set. Have a wonderful rest of your day. My name is Mark Farzetta. My thanks again to Gregg Murphy for coming on the show and talking all things Phillies. Catch you guys tomorrow morning. See you.